Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to go over my transmission cooler install that I have on my Hummer here. I got a lot of questions about the cooler, how I ran it, how I'm keeping things cool, things along those lines. So this setup is a little bit different and out of the ordinary from a lot of guys. So figured I'd give you a breakdown of how I installed it, where I installed it, and why I did what. Unfortunately, this is not a how-to video as it's already installed, but rather kind of a recap as I, put all this together before I start doing videos. So, check it out. All right, guys. So, as you can see, we're under the rear of the H3 here, and that is because I decided to mount my remote transmission cooler remotely, as the name suggests, in the rear of the Hummer. So basically, when I bought this, I eventually removed the rear muffler and had a bunch of space here where the muffler used to be. And that is where I put my transmission cooler. So check it out. That is my transmission cooler. It's a Durale or derail or however you pronounce it. 1370, I think. It's basically like just a stack plate cooler with a 9-inch spout fan on it. Fan moves about 800 CFM, give or take, so moves a lot of air. But as you can see, lots of room under here since there's no muffler. I basically have it's straight pipe from the cat's back, so no resonator and no muffler, pretty much straight out the back, and you have all this room under here. So I mounted a transmission cooler. This is actually the second one I have under here. I had a slightly smaller one in here before that I wasn't entirely happy with the cooling performance, so this is a much beefier, more efficient unit, and let me tell you, it keeps it cool. So as far as how I connected it to the transmission goes, basically I ran -6 AN lines from the cooler all the way up to the transmission. You can see them coming in here through the hole in the cross member there. It's all Fragola Performance fittings. It's just nylon braided hose from here all the way to the transmission. Nothing really that fancy. The wires for the fan run out this way and then along the frame and all the way to the front, and they're connected to my Switch Pro's I guess accessory switch panel. So right now it's just manually set up. You have to turn it on and off at whatever, I guess, cooled level you wish. Eventually I'd like to be able to wire up the thermostat here, but I need to figure out how exactly to do a kill switch so when you're in water you can shut it off and not damage the fan in water or mud. So next up, I'll go down to the transmission and show you how I connected the lines to the transmission and how I ran them back along the body and the frame to get to the cooler. Alright, so this is up at the transmission pan. It's a drive shaft, and these are where the lines are. So you can see those are the two factory hard lines. Basically I cut them super short, I don't know, 8 inches, 6 inches, whatever, and then used Earl's Performance, and I'm sure others make an adapter to run from 3/8 hard line to 6 AN, just kind of compression fits on the end of the hard line. So slap those on, a couple of, those are Fragola Performance 90-degree AN fittings, and then just ran it along the back. So you can see it's basically run over the top of the transfer case back there. And what I did is everywhere that I could, I used, those are the little heat shield mounting bolts, tabs if you will, and I put little 1-inch padded line clamps there to hold the line up and out of the way. So from here it runs all the way to the back, and then up and over the frame once you get more towards the back. Here's perhaps a better shot. This is looking at the back side of the transfer case where the drive shaft plugs in. You can see it runs up and over it hooking into some of those heat shield mounts there, and then further on back. Once you get back here though, you run out of those heat shield things, so I had to use a couple little self tappers along the way. And then you see it runs over that cross member, back over where the rear shock mounts, and then back to where the cooler is there. So it might not be the best place to put this right above the drive shaft. You know, something grenades, you could potentially have problems, but hasn't been an issue for me so far, so no harm, no foul, I guess. One thing I did want to point out was this is where the resonator sits. When I picked this up, the previous owner I think had removed it, so it's just a straight pipe here. And also you can see back there as we get towards the rear, I wrapped the exhaust with some exhaust wrap, mainly due to the fact that the line ends up going right over it. So the exhaust wrap helps with some of the temps inadvertently, you know, going through the line. I thought it made a noticeable difference, you know, before and after I put it on. So it might not be a bad idea if you're planning on doing this to exhaust wrap some of the, or put some sort of other heat shield on it to kind of just prevent the line from picking up any ambient heat from the exhaust, because it does run pretty close to it here. Figured I might as well show you the Switch Pros while I'm up in here. So this is my Switch Pros 8 switch mount that I have up here. As you can see, this is the trans fan here. So whenever it gets too hot, and I monitor temps with the scan gauge above the, I guess, I don't know, steering wheel tunnel there. So whenever it gets too hot, I turn on the fan, cools it down, turn it off. It's ignition controlled. So right now the ignition's on, so it'll turn on. I don't know if you can hear that, but it moves some serious air. Then when it cools down, turn it off. But like I said, it's on the ignition, so whenever I turn off the vehicle, even if it's still running, it automatically kills the fan as well. So I'm not going to kill the battery or anything like that. So, well, that's pretty much it for the transmission overview. I'll try to post up some links with I guess parts. I got most of everything from Summit Racing or Motion Raceworks, so it's super easy stuff to work with. It's a very easy, you know, one-day DIY project. You do gotta drill some holes, cut some lines. If you're wondering, I bypassed the factory transmission cooler in the front radiator completely. A lot of people or the companies will suggest to run it in line, like have it go through the factory one and then through your auxiliary run and then back to your transmission. I decided to bypass that completely to remove any excess heat from the front to begin with, and that's largely simply due to the fact that I was also running a power steering cooler in the front for the hydraulic ram assist setup mainly that I have with the solid axle swap. So I felt that by removing all the heat from the front, it would greatly benefit the cooling of the engine and the transmission, and kind of have those separate. So had no problems with it taking it all the way out to Moab this year. I was running the different cooler then. Still, you know, you're going slow along the trails there. Didn't have any heating problems. I also want to specify I had 0 heating problems the year before that with the factory setup either. However, that was before I installed the power steering cooler. The power steering with the hydraulic ram setup in the front puts out a lot of heat. So that heat's got to go somewhere. It was right under where I had it mounted, was right underneath the factory cooler, so it was messing stuff up, and it's kind of my own fault. But anyway, this is how I did it. You can obviously put it wherever you want. A lot of guys stick it in front of the radiator, you know, behind the grill, and that's perfectly fine. There's no issues there. A lot of people have success with that. I chose to do a remote mount just to get it completely out of the front. So if you have any questions, please comment below. I'll try to explain them to the best of my ability. Like I said, I'll put some links in the description for various parts and pieces that I used, and hopefully this helps you out. So until next time, please like and subscribe. I also want to loop you guys in on some ongoing, I guess, projects or future work that's going to happen here to the Hummer, probably in the next couple of years or so. Nothing immediate, but some really big stuff. So too excited to not share, but I did pick up, this is a GM Dana 60 Kingpin out of a Chevy V30. That's what the guy said that I bought it from. So it's pass drop, lines up with everything that I already have. So I'm hoping to slowly start building this. Not gonna go crazy with it, pretty mild setup, but got some beefy parts on order, and this will be replacing the Dana 44 that's in the front, and eventually I'll get a 14 bolt in the rear to match. But basically, yeah, 1 tons are coming, so enjoy.